Okay, so in previous videos, I spoke about how to do perspective transform. So let's look at the coding part of it and how to implement perspective transform using Python and OpenCV. So firstly, let's look at the settings part of it and let's import relevant modules. So let's go to Python interpreter settings and let's add OpenCV Python package. Okay, and let's include NumPy as well. All right, so that's it. So these are all the packages that we need to implement perspective transform. So let's close this and let's import CV2 and import NumPy as NP. Okay, so with that in mind, let's look at the thing which we are going to use for the perspective transform. So let's open this in Explorer, or let's see how this looks like. So this is our input image. So we're going to be using this to do the perspective transform. Okay, so with that in mind, let's start by like image equal to cv2.im read as cards.jpg, and let's look at how to like display this image. So cv2.im show, let our window name be input, comma, variable image. Let's give cv2 dot wait key as nothing. So okay, so let's see how this looks. Okay, so this would be our input image. So we are essentially going to extract the corners of the ace, which is like 1, 2, 3, and the fourth part of it, and essentially are going to be looking at doing the perspective transform. So if you have gone through my previous videos, the theory aspects of the perspective transform will essentially be there. So yeah, let's go ahead. Now let's look at how to like pick out these corner points. So let's go to the folder where the cards images and let's open this with Paint. Okay, so I've opened the cards image in Paint. So essentially what we need to do is pick out corner number 1, corner number 2, corner number 3, and corner number 4. So let's map these corners and like look at the X and Y coordinate and let's put that into our Python program. So the corner number 1 is essentially 271, 23. So yeah. Okay, so let's comment this out. So find the 4 corners using Paint for okay. So our point B was our point D was 271, 28. Okay. point C was 508, 87. So our point A was 183, 355. And our point B would be 417, 430. Okay, so now we have essentially found out the 4 corners that is required for the perspective transform. Now all that is left to do is to select our new perspective transformed image width and height. So select the transformed image width, height. So let's define our width to be 500. Sorry, width, height equal to 500 and 500. So these are your choices. You can define it the way you want. So I have chosen 500, 500. And okay, so now let's look at representing the transformation part of it, so that let's move on. So let's specify the final points that are required for the perspective transformation. Specify points for the perspective transformation. Okay, so the first point would be a NumPy float array. So based on this, so it will be point D, point C, point A, point B. So if you're going to follow the order which I have selected, so it has to be put in this way only. So if you follow any order, it has to be changed suitably. Okay. So, why is this markings? Okay, so I guess this has to be float 32. Yeah. Okay. Now let's look at selecting the new point, which would be the transformed one. So in py.float 32, again this will also be an array. So this will be 0, 0 would be our initial starting point of the image, width which we have specified, 0, 0, height, and the final point in the transform would be width, height. Okay, so I guess we are very close to the perspective transform part of it. So all that is left to do would be in applying the perspective transform. So let's go ahead and do that. So applying perspective transform. So now let's put this into a variable equal to NumPy dot. We are applying perspective transform. So it should be CV2 dot get perspective transform. Here essentially we need to input three variables. So the third variable is an optional one. So essentially all we need to do would be specify the source variable and the destination part of it. So our source would be the point 1 and our destination would be the point 2. Yeah, from there on, all we need to do is get the resultant transform. So CV2 dot warp perspective. So here it's essentially going to be three different variables which we need to input. The source part of it would be our image. Yeah, and the second variable would be the matrix which we have selected, and the destination size would be the width and the height which we have specified. Okay, so all that is left for us to do is get the result out. So yeah. So let's look at how the result would be, and let's compare that with our initial image. So cv2.imshow output, comma, let's select a result variable. That's it. So let's see how this will look like. As you can see here, so we wanted to transform the S. So the original image was like this. So we are now able to transform and get the